gentlemen, we came here to make you move.
Welcome back, Stranger by the Hour, everybody. Episode 172, April 12th. And we got Josh back with us to chop it up for a bit, man. So let's get into it. So at the tail end of the last episode, we wanted to make sure that we've been talking for like 2 hours straight because we can just chop it up for a long time. But we wanted to make sure that you got to cover a salient point that you perhaps didn't get to cover. And then we're definitely going to talk about NASA. So, we're not going to bury the lead. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so I think we ended up with kind of me just talking about really the group psychology of Israel. Who said they went there? I forget which one.
I've been there.
Jody did.
Yeah.
I was in Tel Aviv for it was supposed to be 3 weeks. This was 2013. It was supposed to be 3 weeks, but the government ran out of money. We had to come home early. It was pretty embarrassing given the given the location to say that we were out of money.
Yeah. Beautiful. Tel Aviv's a fun city to be in. Did you get to travel around a little bit?
Yeah, man. I used to jog, dude. It is a beautiful spot, man. I would jog from the hotel, which was the SEAL liaison. Dude, some SEAL like 03 had that as his like primary gig.
Yeah,
of course. To live in this hotel. I forgot what hotel, dude. It was a super nice hotel. I forgot. It was like
the Hilton.
It wasn't the Hilton. It was
either
not towards
that or the
Herod
is over there too.
Something like that. It was dude, it wasn't. I could almost see. I could see the Indian embassy, and I could almost see the American embassy.
Yeah, the road right there pretty much lines up all the embassies. They're all right there, like pretty exposed. The Hilton's right across from the British embassy.
So we would go link up with the IDF during the day, and talk about who wanted to work with who. There was there was a handful of very more important people than us there. And like everybody's kind of jockeying to like work with those guys, and like I was supposed to team up with the Yahalom. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but the
EOD guys.
Yeah, they're soft engineer guys. They wanted to know about some stuff we were getting into. We were kind of interested in some of the things they were up to. But yeah, man, once we got done with that, dude, I would just I'd go for a jog real quick. I would jog up the coast to Jaffa.
Yeah.
And then jog back. It was like a 4-mile round trip or something.
Yeah, I did that all the time. Yeah.
Dude, and then at night, and then I thought it was cool because there's actually like, it's like a muscle beach the entire way. There's like PT gear every like, I don't know, 20 it's by intervals. There's like some dips. There's like a park course, like the entire way. And then Jaffa was just like an amazing ancient city, dude. Like, it definitely looks different than it does in Clash of the Titans.
Right.
Like,
but most people don't know that story.
Andromeda's out there,
Yeah. So before I get into my thing, we'll just throw out a few. I got some questions for you guys, and we can hit some of the history of that place. But yeah, most people don't know that that's the whole story of like Cassiopeia and Clash of the Titans, and supposedly what's her name was chained to the rocks right outside there, and that led to the Greek mythology of it. When you go to places like that and you start hearing these stories, when we kind of have a scope that we put around things. So if we talk about ancient Greece, but you forget that ancient Greece largely populated Italy. And when we talk about Carthage and the Punic Wars, you tend to forget that those guys started in Phoenicia, in Lebanon and northern Israel now. And that's why, by the way, it's called the Punic Wars, because Latin for Phoenician is Punic. And so, you forget a lot of the mythological parts of Greece started all over the Mediterranean. So yeah, it's beautiful. Kind of a lot of Israel is kind of frozen in time. That's one of the things I loved about it.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool place to chill. There's a store that in the back, a portion of the wall had been removed for remodeling, and they found like you're saying, it's either a Roman or Greek pipe, but essentially the pipe. I mean, I don't even know, man. 2,000 years. I mean, it was, you know what I'm saying, like it was ancient, and it was it was one of the cool spots. Went to the Bat Cave where the that one crew does their ceremony. Is that in Haifa?
Oh, yeah. You're talking about. Are you talking about the?
Their version of the SEALs does this. Their final or their
Yeah,
SEAL camp graduation is inside.
I've been
of
there. It's at Leet, and it's in a Crusader Templar. As a matter of fact, I went there with Knock, so Knock loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
those guys. Funny thing about those guys is that that beach right there, it's like the only place that they can get away from press, and it's a secret base, so nobody can get on it. So when the prime minister needs to vacation, he goes to that beach. But yeah, that Crusader temple has like been completely like unexamined because they plop their beach right down there, and they do their graduation inside that bat cave, and that's why their symbol has bat wings on it.
Yeah.
But, after talking to them, they've got such a long history with the SEALs that they're like, yeah, we are the Israeli Navy SEALs. You know, I can do a real good Israeli accent. And then as you talk to them, they're like, so you guys are all divers and stuff. And they're like, oh no, just we have dive team. There's divers, you know, all of us, little bit, but not, you know, not all. This is dive team over here.
Well, so like an MSOC, we kind of got.
But they literally said this. They said everybody else, we are the Raiders, and so we, you know, because we go in and we do the actions, so we are the Raiders. And I'm like, oh no, yeah, that's what we do. Are you sure you're not the Israeli Raiders? And they're like,
yeah.
But you know, we're so new, they didn't know the difference. They plopped onto the sexiest American unit they could find. So
yeah, it was a good time right before we got thrown out.
Yeah, that's I love visiting there, and the reason why I ask is because, you know, I just want to get your sense of like their mentality, and I don't know if you got to talk to a lot.
So it's interesting that you asked that, because I thought about that leading up to this question. So I was with a guy who was pretty outgoing. It was one of the PJs, and he had linked up with some of the soldiers and was like, "Hey, we're going to go out and party later." I'm like, "Okay, cool." You know, so link up with these dudes, and they're all Americans, and they're all like just finishing up their tour, but they're like straight up fucking Americans, man. So we're driving around like one of the kids with us. I say kids, you know, because I'm in my like early 30s or something. You know, I think his parents sent him over there to study medicine, and he was doing his time. I mean, like literally everybody was from America,
right?
And they were pretty pro wiping out the Palestinians, man.
Yeah,
I'll just be honest with you, dude. Like I mean, it wasn't like I was going easy on the Muslims myself, having come from like a SOTA to Afghanistan tour, like hot right before that. In fact, I think I was in the SOTA when you were at, what was like Puze?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, because I was laughing hysterically, man. And we might circle back around to this story, because didn't you get like a slap on the wrist for shooting a terrorist?
We got a talking to.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that story, man. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, so these guys you know, they were just selling the line, man. They were like, "Hey, look, these people are all animals." Like, and at the time, I'm like, "Yeah, you know, fuck them." You know, and yeah, I mean, that was kind of the gist that I got from them, except for when I was talking with that the manager of that restaurant I was talking about, and, you know, and she had a completely, I guess, the opposite thing, and I probably can't tell you anyway, because like Israel will hear about it and like hunt her down or some shit. but yeah, I mean, that was overall the kind of the gist. I mean, they definitely said that they hadn't done anything in like 2,000 years,
right?
Yeah, I don't think I heard the term mowing the lawn, but it was definitely like hey, they're animals, fuck them, you know. Was the overarching from the small group that I was with.
Have you ever, I forget, Aaron, you're from Northern California. Cody, yeah. I forget where you're from.
Southern California, just right outside LA.
So my last few years of high school and my first few years of the first time I went to college was in Wichita, Kansas, right? and you start jumping from California, from West Coast to the Midwest, you start to notice the cultural differences. That's what I actually studied, was cultural anthropology, because my family's so diverse. That's something that interested me. And so I picked up on the difference in the culture in the Midwest really, really quickly. And I'll never forget it. I moved back, I think it was in the Marine Corps about this time, and the serial killer, BTK, I think he just gotten killed, or just gotten captured. Yeah. And I didn't have any context. I walked into the room, the news was playing, and all I could see was this guy that was in the courtroom. He wasn't, testifying. It was just the audience. Immediately, I looked at him and said, Wichita, Kansas. I could tell by what they were wearing, right? The way they were dressing. And sure enough, then it brought it up, the BTK thing, right? Now I say that to kind of bring up a broader point. You're going to find that there's different, obviously, that there is a monoculture to Judaism, but there's also, or to being a Jew. I don't want to say Judaism because that's a religion, but there's also a big divide. And I think you would get much different answers if you talk to people that are Israeli, that grew up in Israel, because they grew up around all the Arabs and stuff like that. And that, a lot of them will tell you, like, I go over to the Druze to get this, I go over to the Arab place to get that. And there was a time I took a group over there, and really gun-ho captain was like, yeah, we're going to kill him. We hate him too. And the Israelis were like, no, we got some guys that are Arabs in the unit. Like, you can't say that. And he didn't understand that. But I definitely can see, if you're around a bunch of Americans that went over there, the mentality being 100% different. And the whole clothing thing I bring up because during like the height of the Gaza stuff, they were showing this video of these guys, like this IDF unit, and they all had these mustaches, like handlebar mustaches, and they were all dressing like, and they're like, look at these guys. These guys are like notorious in Gaza. They're like cracking skulls and stuff. And I took one look at them and I go, Americans, that's a platoon of Americans right there. Every one of them. So I think that there's a difference when you grow up in Israel between, and a great example of this is there's a YouTube channel that I highly recommend you check out called The Ask Project. Maybe you've heard of it. Mm-mm. It's a guy, I think his name's Gary Schuster or something. And he goes to Jews, and it's all in Israel. It goes to Jews and he goes to Palestinians. And then he'll do like Bedouins and other Arabs, Israeli Arabs, Druze. And he goes, do you think we can have peace? Would you live peacefully with your neighbor? And all the Israelis, every one of them, they're like, yes, of course. If they want to have peace, whatever. It's changed a little bit since then. I think that they've gotten a little bit more pessimistic. But you go to the Palestinian Authority areas in the West Bank, and then immediately they ask it, Palestinian, they're like, do you think there'll ever be peace? No. Would you like to live in peace with your neighbor? No. Well, how are you going to do this? And then they go, I can't say. They say it's very eye-opening, the difference. And they know they can't say what they want to say on camera. But the point is that when you talk to the Israelis, all of them are like, yeah, I live with the Arabs. My grandparents used to go to an Arab town to eat all the time. It's just a different mentality when you grow up there amongst those people. And I think the mentality that we kind of have, a lot of Americans have, that go over there to serve, and then they're like, yeah, fuck the Arabs,
Yeah, I'm willing to like accept all that, and even if every Israeli was just 100%, bellicose with like a bias towards wiping everybody out, and their perspective was, hey, look, it's war. No one's going to tell you how to go fight your war to defend your homeland, all this other stuff. I could say, yeah, sure. My issue entirely is the degree to which the place where I live, the culture that I'm a member of, mm-hmm. the resources of the government that I support with my labor, yep. the resources of the military munition stockpile that my labor pays for. I'm coming at this from a completely selfish perspective. If someone were to ask me direct questions, whether like on a moral basis, I could tell you I have my opinion about the morality of what Israel's up to, and it's going to be different than a Zionist. I'm not a Zionist, so I have that opinion, but I'm also not I'm not willing to like. I don't, I'm not one of these commie, Columbia University fucking, shit libs that's like, gonna melt down over the moral, behavior of some other country. This is the world, like I could find you 25 other examples right now, contemporaneous examples where people are violating the human rights of, someone, their neighbor, right? It's just happening continuously, and we pick and choose the ones we care about. What I'm interested in is like I said, the degree to which, like, for me, it's like it's like for my whole life, and I'm only coming out of it now because I bought into it. I was very pro Israel and pro IDF. I got all interested in reading how we all read all the war books about everything. And like for a while I was super into like the Sela Scouts. So I'd read everything I could about the Sela Scouts. And then I went into like a Israel rabbit hole, and I read By Way of Deception. You've probably read that. It's a hard book to get it's a great, very interesting book. It's funny, when I read that book, I was like, I had this like, yeah, this is the shit, this is very cool. But I can see now that like why that book's hard to get and why it like went out of print and shit. It doesn't actually, I was an amoral or immoral hedonist back then. When I read that book, my entire moral system was, I grew up in a secular household raised by atheists. And then I joined the Marines when I was 17. And that was the entirety of my moral system, was like what I learned in the Marines. So, you know what I mean? And so, and you knew me back then. I wasn't going to cry any tears over anybody getting fucked over in any way. Right.
Right.
Now, though, I see it differently, and I'm not able to like find common cause with that. And I think like, you could probably make a good argument about, in support of how they behave,
Right. So I thought you were going one direction. We ended on the moral thing. So I want to hit that first. I have never worked. It was embarrassing a little bit. Like, they're a pretty moral military. Telling stories with those guys. They're like, oh, we can't do that. Like, guys coming up to the fence, trying to breach the fence around Gaza, they would show videos and they'd be all proud and stuff. And they're like, yeah, I shot this guy. And we're like, okay, let's see this. And he falls down, he gets up and he runs away. I'm like, did you miss him? He's like, no, I shot him. I shot him in the kneecap. Like, yeah, we shoot them in the kneecap. And I'm like, good one. Like, that was their sniper that did that, like, and I'm telling them stories and they're like, oh, so you just shot him in the head? Like, what did he do? Well, he was coming to get us. Shot him in the head. Like, but so you had authority from your commander? No, I don't need. He's a bad guy. I shot him. They usually go out of their way to warn people, like, to their detriment, that they're about to do something too. There's raids and stuff like that. Guys on the ground, they're not gonna compromise them. But if they're gonna drop a bomb, a lot of times they'll let people know. And I think it's a double-edged sword, because if I want you to look bad, then I'm just going to pack this building with people that you just told that, it's not going to work. So I really do think that they're pretty moralistic. And I think if you look at any military, like you said, you're going to see ugly stuff. And especially when you've got to fight in a densely populated area. Then again, you could do Google searches for, like, in the middle of the war, you could do Google searches for coffee cafes and look at pictures of live, coffee places where they're handing out fufu drinks in southern Gaza, where the war just wasn't. So there was a very narrow area where they were working.
Yeah, I'm like, and like, you have, personal experience with the IDF, and I don't dispute that at all.
Yeah.
It's just like, when I hear guys like Smotrich, announce and basically detail out this system of like forced starvation isn't the right word for it, but like he said, like, hey, our policy now after October 7th is, nothing gets in, nothing gets out, like no resources are going in. And this is after, I don't know the degree to which it's entirely true, but like these people were already like the Israeli government was like managing the total calorie count of the people in Gaza prior to like October 7th. Like this was like they were an occupying force that was managing now again, like they'll say, yeah, we have to do that because like when we allow resources in, they take those resources and they use them to make munitions or whatever. That's why we can't allow them to have this, that, and the other thing. We have to control the amount of electricity, their access to water. Like, you know, we give them water and then they take the piping apart and use it to make rocket launchers or what, all these reasons. And I have I'm in no position to like dispute that. But like the IDF may be moral, but like the Knesset, like these Likudnik people, like whatever their moral system is, it seems completely inverted. Like these are the people that have like the Samson option and shit that we wouldn't even like. Now we don't have to have a Samson option because we're not surrounded by like, you know, we're not facing an existential crisis at all times. So it's like, again, that's why I'm like, yeah, I'm not here to like tell them how to manage their situation, but it's like, I don't want to be like told that I have some moral obligation to support it. And that's like what I feel. And like, that's what I'm pushing back against, you know, in our country is this, like, you know, like make the case for why I should support what's going on, you know?
Yeah. You know, one thing I'll do is I'll just kind of tell you what I know about the place, but I'll never tell. I 100% believe in American freedom of thought, first and foremost. Once you control the freedom of speech, you're controlling freedom of thought. And so, yeah, whatever you think, that's what you're going to think. And, you know, let me just throw a few things out there. One, first of all, the Knesset. Again, that's not, you know, a singular group of people. They got people on both sides, some super liberal groups in there, as well as a party of Muslim Arabs within the Knesset that were duly elected Arabs that serve as part of the government. The other thing is that, you know, and you could say, you know, well, they're a minority. Of course, they don't have much of a say, but, you know, they are there. So the Knesset all in and of itself is probably not in complete agreement with this, but the Israeli government for a long time has controlled all of what goes in there, if to the extent that they could. No ships were allowed to dock in Gaza. Everything had to land in Israel, and then it was driven through the gates. Everything was inspected, and ships that tried to make the blockade, oftentimes the Sariyat Shayatet is the unit we're talking about. They do, you know, VBSS missions on them, and they find the ships were full of rockets. Like it wasn't, I'm taking apart some rations to make, you know, explosive. They had EFPs that were coming directly from Iran. I saw several of them, got video of them emplacing them, and they all came in through shipments that were supposed to be, you know, goods. So yeah, I mean, this, again, we're talking about, it's easy for us to be, you know, out here and then them to live in a prison and go, you know, why'd you shank that guy? Because he bumped into you. Well, in prison, you got to shank a dude when he messes with you, because that's where they live. And I'm not saying that, you know, they go to the extreme every time, but they've taken some measures where they go, hey, we have to control this because we're eating rockets every time a new shipment of food comes in, you know. As far as moralistic, as far as giving money, that's another thing. I've talked to a lot of Israelis. Almost every Israeli I ever talked to, this is, you know, anecdotal, but almost every Israeli that I've ever talked to wanted to get off U.S. aid. And, you know, they're the only
I've heard
country,
a lot of that too.
So they're the only country that we give money to and then expect them to buy back our weapons, you know. So
yeah, it's a weird I mean, because I've been looking into this a lot, like in preparation of this conversation, but in general, this is like, you know, I'm probably spending too much of my time watching like all the churn on social media and shit, but I am interested in it. And like, because part of it is like, I'm like, fuck it. Like, what do I care? You know what I mean? Like, just don't pay so much attention to it. But then like, you know, I see what's happening in my country and I see who has access to the levers of power in our government. Right now, again, my overall perspective is like, I don't vote. Like I consider voting to be completely masturbatory and an act of consent. And I just don't consent to the system that we're under, but okay, let's just, you know, pretend voting matters or whatever, you know. But I see who has all this access, and it's like, you know, so you've got Trump. Like, I went from like being kind of amused by Trump, and I just liked, you know, that the libs hated him so much, and he caused them to fucking short circuit at every turn. And so I was like amused by Trump, and like kind of in like he's my favorite character in wrestling type thing. I'm no longer amused by that guy at all. You know what I mean? Like I fucking have nothing but the most disdain possible for that guy. But like, he makes these insane, like he's losing it, or it's purposeful to make it look like he's losing. I don't know, but like if you see who has access to Trump, like direct access, who he like seems to take cues. Well, he'll say, like, I'll give you an example, Mark Levine, right? Trump makes one of his tweets, one of his true socials or whatever, and he points at Levine and he's like, this is the guy, watch his show. He's putting out content that you should watch to understand what's going on in Trump's mind. And then when you watch that guy, I react to him as if like I came into my kid's room and there was a coiled fucking snake on the floor. And I don't think that's an anti-Semitic response, but it's like, call it what you want, but I want to fucking I'm like something, I'm like whatever that is repellent to me. Like the way the way he describes the world and dude, he's time now, he's making the case. He had some expert on helping him make the case for nukes, for like nuking Lebanon, nuking the half Christian fucking city of Beirut, and I'm like, what the fuck, right? So this is a guy who Trump is like allowing into his consciousness or whatever. And so that's this like part of the right wing, which is now, so right now there's this war. So if I was aligned to anything politically, it would be the right. Obviously, I'm not a like Democrat weirdo. I mean, again, I don't vote. The Republicans are just as bad, but I thought we were finally free of these neocons. No, the neocons have just shapeshifted and they're now running shit again. Like Trump is like a neocon. She's got Pete Hegseth, and these people are all. And then so my point is the common thread when you look at all these people who are fucking weirdos, Hegseth, Trump, Mark Levine, all the people in his cabinet, fucking Kushner, total freaks.
Okay, Aaron. So clean it up with a tight paragraph.
Yeah. So just very quickly, like my issue is, these people that seem to have access to the current administration, guys like Mark Levine, guys like, all of the like Zionist pundits. That's who I have a problem with. I'm not aligned with their. It's like the neocons have come back, and like I thought we were moving away from that. I thought the product that Trump was offering everybody was the end of these wars, foreign wars of choice. And we seem to be right back at it. And so he was offering two things. These are both associated and tied to the thing we're talking about, Israel, Zionism, whatever, Jews. He offered us accountability for the Epstein shit and no foreign wars or, no foreign wars. And we didn't get it. And the guiding hand I see behind it, the people I think have control over Trump are Zionists, Americans, Israel, Christian ones, Jewish ones. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm a Zionist. I'll admit it right now. I believe that the Jewish people should be able to have a homeland. That's what Zionism is in a nutshell. So if you don't believe that, then you believe that Jews should not be allowed to have a homeland in Jerusalem specifically, since Jerusalem is basically formed on two hills, Mount Moriah and Mount Zion, and that's where the term Mount Zion or Zionism comes. So yeah, I believe that Jews should be able to have a homeland in their historic homeland. Absolutely.
Well, hold on. Can we pause on that first? Okay, so if someone were to ask me, do you think the Jews should have a homeland? I say sure.
Yeah. And
if also somebody says, do you think Costa Ricans should have a homeland or something? You know what I mean? Like yes, I think the Jews should have their homeland.
Okay.
No problem. But it's not as simple as that, because saying that I'm a Zionist means that I am aligned with this project, this larger political project, that's saying that that's what their end state is just that the Jews, have a homeland, but there's a lot more to it than that. So I'm not aligned.
What else is there to it? Because
what's to it is it's a political identity. And like, I see who else, not you, but I see who else, I see the other people that are identifying themselves in that way. So if it's a group and we say, hey, we're a group, this group called Zionists, and I see who's in the group and I see what they do. And I see not you, again, like not all Zionists, right? I'm not talking about, I'm talking about a bunch of stuff that a bunch of these ways that they wield power in over what's ostensibly meant to be a democratic system. It's a joke, like, and this isn't the only way that it's a joke. It's like farcical to call it any kind of democracy, but like ostensibly, if we're meant to pretend that we're in this democracy, well, they do things that subvert that democracy. They limit my access to power. Like they collectivize in this way. They use their collective resources to influence who's in power, and then they make decisions absent any kind of democratic process. If the American people went to put it to a vote about whether or not we want to blow fucking Lebanon off the face of the map, we don't want to blow fucking Lebanon off the face of the map. I don't know a single person that aside from the most rabid like Zionists that like Mark Levin, that want to fucking shoot missiles at Beirut. I don't know anybody that feels that way. So that's, and I'm sorry to get heated, but like this is, I don't mean it to mean like I have anything against Jews or them having a homeland. Like I wouldn't spend one, you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, I appreciate you kind of defining what you see as Zionism, because it has nothing to do with Zionism. So if I'm leading a parade and as I go down the street, 500 other people jump in and they go, yeah, this is this parade, I have nothing to do with that. Zionism just means that we should, Jews should be able to have a homeland in their historic homeland.
Yes.
Now, the other stuff that comes along with this, if you got somebody's like, I'm a Zionist and I think we should blow up Lebanon, that has nothing to do with Zionism.
Well, it doesn't have nothing. It's not that it doesn't have nothing to do with it, because so if it didn't have anything to do with it, the mainstream project of Zionism, the people of it would say that would push that out. You know what I mean? Would police that. Here's the other problem.
Who are the mainstream people of Zionism?
Fuck, dude. I
would say probably Israelis, right? They're pretty Zionist.
No, I'd say, well, okay. So in our country, it's the current administration. It's the neoconservatives.
Okay.
It's the pundits like Ben Shapiro, Mark Levine, Turning Point USA. These very powerful, not so much Daily Wire, but Turning Point USA, because it has the youth, the Christian youth movement. This is a very powerful political organization.
I don't think they're powerful. Now, influential is different than powerful, but
that's a form of power. So here's the thing: the neocon boomers are dying. Okay, they're going to die and finally leave. Right. In order for this project of Zionism to continue with American support, they have to get the current right-aligned, populist, right-aligned youth people on board with it. That's the problem they're having. That's not going super well for them. So that's why Turning Point USA is so critical to it. But just backing up though, my other thing with Zionism, then I'll stop complaining about it. But like to me, here's why it's not just the Jews have a homeland and that's what Zionism is. Okay, if it was just that, then sure, of course, fuck yeah, yes. But if you rewind the tape before Israel even existed, right? The project of Zionism is like late 1800s, right? Theodore Herzl, all this other stuff, right? So
yep.
Before Israel even exists, before the Balfour Declaration, all that stuff, Zionism starts, and for very good reasons that I don't have any issue with. The Jews are, bounced out of all these places. They're in the diaspora. They have thousands of years history of people fucking with them. And like, if we could just get our own, half the problem is they're rootless. They have no, place to call their own. They're left to like have to, find a way in these places that kind of want them, kind of don't want them half the time. And, and there's pogroms and all this other shit they're dealing with. I'm on board. I get it. But then they're in America and they start. So here's one of the things I have issues with. This dispensationalist Christianity is a result of Zionism. This is Darby introducing the Schofield Bible into the American Protestantism in the early 1900s. And and again, we get into a theological dispute, but it's an adulteration of Christianity. And it's a recent bolt-on to Christianity. The bulk, and even still globally, the bulk of Christians they do not believe in the conception of Israel as the biblical conception of Israel presented by guys like Darby via the Schofield Bible. This is a very specific, particular thing to American evangelicalism. Catholics don't believe that. Orthodox Christians don't believe that. Most Protestants don't believe that. So it's this thing, that got bolted on. So that's like an example of something that broadens what Zionism means to me. That's what makes it a bigger thing than just should. So they do all that to get American support for their project or whatever, but it's like it feels subversive to me.
Yeah, the Schofield Bible. Can you explain that real quick?
Yeah, so the Schofield Study Bible is this guy Darby. I can't remember his first name, but he with funding from no, not a Jewish guy, but with funding from Zionists from the UK. They bring him over to the UK, comes back, and he starts publishing. They fund the publishing of this Schofield Study Bible. Well, it gets presented and back then you got to think this is like early 1900s. I think it was I can't remember the millions, but it's something like 10 million copies of this study Bible were produced. And they were given out to ministers in the United States. So this is basically a free study Bible, like a liturgical manual, like a book that they could use to run, their ministry. So again, this is you're handing out something valuable to people that have nothing back then, right? And so this is a way of introducing this change to the theology into the Christian mainstream. And it did, and it was focused on the South, basically. This is why you have evangelicalism, is kind of located in the South. Now it's everywhere now, but
and you're saying this Bible is somehow it's pushing a Zionist.
So Christianity, everybody else that's not evangelical believes in is not dispensationalist. So dispensationalism is it breaks the history of the Bible up into these sections, okay? And basically this is how they get the idea that Israel, when they're talking about Israel in the Bible, they're talking about what ultimately becomes the nation state of Israel located in the Middle East.
Okay.
When the rest of Christianity doesn't believe that, they are Christ comes and he fulfills prophecy of the Old Testament, and that's who the people of Israel in the Bible then means the followers of Christ. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean the Jews that ultimately come to live in the Middle East. So this is the big dispute. Yeah.
So when Schofield or the guy that was writing it, is it Hagee? Is that what he said?
Yeah, but you always just hear about Darby. It's
oh, okay. That was the name. So whoever was writing were they already going to write pro Zionist type stuff, or were they I need to write a new Bible, and then these Zionists got a hold of them and they're you need to put this stuff in here?
Dude, I don't know. Okay. I have no, I don't know. I don't know if it was some
So you see the divide there, right? And then at the same time, was the Zionism of early 1900s the same Zionism that you would describe today? If I told you that the core of Zionism is just believing in a homeland for the Jews.
Well, maybe not. Yeah,
I mean, back then were they saying, "Hey, let's blow up Lebanon," and you know what I mean? So if this is the core of the the evil of Zionism, and then we're using this, but it was written in the 1900s, and well, by whose influence?
I'm not saying it's evil.
Just scrolling through it.
That's what I'm saying. They brought him over to Oxford, I'm not saying anything's evil. I'm just saying to me. Well, I guess I'm just saying that I'm on board with the Jews having, because of course, at this point they already have it. They already have it, and I'm fine they have it. You know what I mean? But do I feel personally responsible in any way, that they maintain it, again, no one's asking me to go over there and fight the fucking Palestinians. I'm just saying, broadly.
No, I think there'd be a lot of Israelis who would shrug their shoulders and say, yeah, okay,
yeah, and I think a lot of Israelis would be fine. I imagine from their perspective, why would they want Big Daddy America? They probably feel like they could handle it.
That is kind of a thing.
On their own.
They definitely feel like there's a lot of them that feel like they're over reliant on the U.S.
Now, do you think they could do it without Big Daddy America helping them?
They have, 6 Day War, and under some amazing odds, but I think it'd be a very dangerous prospect. Yeah.
What about what's it called? Nickel glass, isn't it? Nickel glass, something nickel. Hold on, let me look. During the Yom Kippur War, we did that huge we did a huge airlift. Okay, nickel glass. Sorry, yeah. During the Yom Kippur War, they were almost whooped, and we had to. We flew in massive airlift. I don't know who knows. And so it says 567 flights, 22,000 tons of material, including M60 tanks, F4 Phantom jets, A4 Skyhawks, advanced jamming equipment. We flew all this shit in. They were about to lose the Yom Kippur War. And who was the chick? Golda Meir, right?
Golda Meir.
Yeah, she called Nixon. Oh, I forgot all about this. This is interesting, actually. And I don't have like a negative opinion. I'm just an interesting, political story, history. Yom Kippur War, they're not. It's not going well. They need all this shit. We just talked about all the stuff they flew in. Nixon was a renowned anti-Semite. He's on tape. They have that like footage of him like saying something really shitty about the faggoty Jews or something like that. He's known. He's an anti-Semite. So Golda Meir calls him and is like, "Hey, we need some help." And he's like, "How about no?" And so the next time she calls, they're like, "Hey, we're gonna send you." I don't know by what means they communicated this, but what Israel knew that America was not admitting to at the time was that we were already doing overflights, surveillance overflights over everything, watching. So they knew we had surveillance stuff that we weren't copying to, U-2s or whatever in the sky. Yeah. And she's like, "Hey, slew your sensors to this location, and you will see evidence of our nuclear weapons program." And so they like put it out, or like they did it in a way to demonstrate, like, and however they verified that, yeah, okay. And what they had were early nuclear bomb tech that they still don't admit they have any, but like they weren't admitting it back then either. But this was like dirty bomb stuff. They didn't have a delivery mechanism for it. You couldn't put it on a intercontinental rocket, or you can even airdrop it. It had to be like blow in place, like dirty bomb shit. And so this is the first time the Samson option got like announced that the thing existed or whatever. And so she told Nixon, like, "You help us, because the next thing, because if this gets any worse for us, it's Samson option." And he's like, "What's the Samson option?" She's like, "Oh, that's when we just turn the fucking card table over and like we're done playing, like everybody loses." And
I would imagine there's also a slight threat that this could fall into the hands of other groups that they didn't want to have it.
Yeah, but I mean that's interesting. So you know what I mean? Like this is a I don't have a I'm not saying that like anybody did anything wrong. I just think it's interesting,
Yeah, I know. I kind of heard a little bit about that, but I didn't know all the details of it.
You were gonna say like you go ahead.
I'll say, okay, here's an interesting aside to get off into some weird shit. So let me pull this up real fast. So what Aaron was referencing as far as the Schofield Bible, by this guy fucking Schofield. So this is of course Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt.
You're right.
Yeah, but so the interesting thing down here, so this guy, goes throughout his life, blah, 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 but he goes to Oxford, which is one of those places like Yale or Harvard, like if you're Karl Marx, you go hang out at Oxford until somebody hands you the fucking Communist Manifesto. So it's one of those places where all these great ideas that eventually turn into slaughterhouses happen, is Oxford. So Schofield Bible significantly influenced the Christian Zionist movement, referring to Schofield's interpretation of Genesis 12:3, "I will bless them that bless thee and curse them that curseth thee." John Hagee, founder of Christians United for Israel, argued that the man or nation that lifts a voice or hand against Israel invites the wrath of God. So that is what the Christian Zionist movement is calling out as their explanation for why, if you're a Christian, you have to undyingly support the idea of that particular chunk of land, or whatever, however they're misconstruing the difference between people and place, or however the hell that's going down. let me get rid of that and pull up. Should be looking at Christian Zionism on the page right there.
Yep.
Yep.
Political and religious ideology that in Christian context espouses the return of the Jewish people to the Holy Land. Okay, cool. Likewise, it holds that the founding of Israel, here's where it gets kind of interesting. Likewise, it holds that the founding of Israel in 1948, which was an entirely like man-made British, the Rothschilds got the receipt in his pocket. He talks about having the letter in his house. I don't know if anybody 2,000 years ago was specifically referencing anything that was going to go down like that. Like to me, that's a jump of logic that would happen like that. In accordance with biblical prophecies transmitted through the Old Testament, that the reestablishment of Jewish sovereignty in the Levant, the eschatological gathering of Israel, is a prerequisite for the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Yes, I've heard this. Yeah.
And so this is
And
where
this
is to me where it starts to reek of not prophecy, but of conspiracy.
And dude, thanks for bringing that up because, and Josh, like, this is not something obviously that like Jewish Zionists believe necessarily. This is what weirdo evangelical American dingbat Christians believe, and this is kind of what I'm not aligned to. You know what I mean? Like their conception of it, because this crashes up against my theological understanding, and I reject it. So it's not the like Jews that I'm rejecting; it's these guys.
I think you're not rejecting Zionism either, then, because let me just say I've heard this, and it for every Jewish person I know that you hear this, it makes you cringe a little bit. You're like, that's not really our thing, right? It's like. It's like, hey, we're against we're against mass migration of illegal aliens. Yeah, fuck the Mexicans. You're like, oh no, that's not what I meant. You know what I mean? Like, I just think we should be careful with who we let into our country. It's that group that kind of attaches themselves to you. And I have heard this before, and I disregard it as part of. Do they believe that Jews should have a homeland? Yes. So they're like, oh, we're Zionists. Great. And also, and I've heard this will usher in, this is the more, I think, powerful, dangerous kind of side of weird things that people do with religion, right? There are people who read, what is it? Who are the people that dance with snakes and make nonsense noises?
Oh, Pentecostalists.
Right. Yeah. People, there's groups, who are the ones that don't get blood transfusion? Jehovah's Witness. Then there's the ones that...
Mormons.
Mormons. There's hundreds of little groups that have taken 3 or 4 passages and they've gone, this is going to bring it about the Messiah, the return of the Messiah, Jesus Christ's second coming. This one happens to kind of pertain with Zionism, but I would fight against the fact that this in any way was driven by actual Zionists, and other than it was a convenience. You know what I mean? If somebody's hey, I'm for Israel, I'm a Jew, I want to go back to Israel, and they're like, we're for that too. I'm like, oh yeah.
For reasons that time wouldn't allow, like I'm very open to the fact that there's an originating conspiracy, because just these things all kind of tend to spring from these little nexuses of kind of like occulted conspiratorial groups. But like again, it's not something that it's fruitful to go over, because like any of that stuff, you can't resolve it. You know what I mean? You can't like find any contemporaneous example that you can point to and be like, see, there it is. So
I can show you.
And the Jews definitely have their own like, so like that. I mean, like,
go say it.
Dude, they like time now. You can still find a mohel like in Brooklyn that will bite a baby, that will circumcise a baby with his fucking mouth. Like that still happens. And now that's not representative of like Jewish culture, but like those dudes are still out there doing it.
There's still ministers that are telling all their parishioners that their wives have to have sex with them. And
I'm glad you guys.
Every religion's got their weirdos. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm glad you guys are sort of doing this back and forth. You guys are fucking biting baby dicks, and you guys are slinging snakes to strychnine, dude. Because that is exactly the point. The exact point is for the controlling class to get all the people doing that exact shit, because we've shown this clip a million times, right? But this is, so going back to the evangelicalism, Zionist Christianity being a probably designed in the fucking halls of Oxford from, call it like a Rhodes Scholar or something like that, or definitely a fucking Jesuit, allegedly. Like, this is how it works contextually at the level above guys like us making fun of fucking like funny robes on both sides, right? Like the wizard costumes of everybody's fucking religion. And Aaron and I have shared this a bit, but I'm just gonna beat a dead horse with it, man. Let me just fucking pull this up real fast. So when they make a movie about CIA shit, the movie is there to tell you the CIA's idea of what they, they're telling you official history, right? Like everybody knows the Zero Dark 30 Ray didn't really, it went down differently than what they show. The fucking Captain Phillips thing didn't go down the Captain Phillips way, which is funny because Tom Hanks sort of weasels his way through a lot of these things that show you how shit went. The Apollo, it didn't really go down that way. But sometimes in their movies, and I like using movies as an example because it gives somebody something that they can physically look at, like and imagine how it would happen or could happen in real life. It puts the idea in their head. It's like a mimetic. So this is basically, I forgot who this lady is supposed to represent, but she represents a class above the rank and file class. She has summoned Charlie Wilson to her party.
She's like Miriam Adelson, but
yeah, she's like
the Miriam Adelson of the 1970s.
Yeah, and also of the Christian Zionist group, probably, right? So she has summoned
you're right. Yeah, my bad.
She has summoned Charlie Wilson, which at this point is like the head of the covert action committee, whoever's doling out the fucking secret money, right? She has summoned him because she has a task for him. So before this, I cut it down while you guys were talking. Before this, she rattled off all kinds of top secret shit, right? Like all kinds of things that we go into a skiff to talk about and walk around like we're cool. And we got the, like we would talk to our boys and everything about the top secret stuff we know. Like she just rattled it off to him. Like, yeah, if you were really doing what you were supposed to be doing, you would be doing this stuff, like the Contra thing she rattles on. And so let me just hop in here and play this a little bit.
Don't underestimate me, Charlie. Believe everything you've heard.
What exactly do you want me to do?
Go to Pakistan and meet with Zia.
Zia?
Mohammed Zia-ul Haq.
He's the president of Pakistan.
I've already arranged it.
You've arranged a meeting between me and the president of Pakistan?
Yes. You're going to Israel next week to meet with Zvi Rafi about the Lavi jets. I want you to attack Pakistan on the end of your trip.
So real quick, she knows his entire classified agenda to go, because he's the covert action guy, is going around to, figure out where the money's going where. She already knows his entire agenda. And also notice that, she's ostensibly a Christian lady saying, hey, go meet this Muslim. And also that, she's like, yeah, I understand you're going to go see the Jews first. They're operating at a level above this, man. These things, these pageants that they fucking given us. I'll shut up and hit play again.
And meet with the president.
Let him convince you that it's a Christian imperative to let the Afghans rid the country of communism.
Okay. It's not likely the president of Pakistan is a Christian, but I'm going to do this for you, Joanne, because you saved my ass once with the pro-lifers, and I owe you my seat in Congress.
Okay, once again, this ostensibly Christian lady saved his ass with the pro-lifers. She doesn't give a fuck about abortion, bro.
No, none of them. No.
Yeah, she doesn't. None of that nonsense, right? Like she just needs him, who's compromisable. She just fucked him in the tub to be in the position that he's in, right? She's like, so like, yeah, the whole. I'm sorry, abortion is funny
because you look very good naked. But I have to tell you, I'm elected by Jews.
How many Jews do you have in your district?
7.
Okay, man. This is the CI's movie. I didn't write it. You know what I'm saying? All the people in his constituency, his entire state. He's like, yeah, I work for 7 of them. Yeah. Okay. Like moving on.
But congressmen aren't elected by voters. They're elected by contributors, and mine are in.
Once again, one of the reasons why I love these things, congressmen ain't elected by voters. They're elected by contributors. So take your ass to the little box if you want. Fucking post a little thing, pull the clown arm if you want to. It doesn't mean a fucking thing.
New York, Florida, Hollywood, because I'm one of Israel's guys on the Hill. And I don't know how they're going to feel about me taking up the cause of Muslims.
Well, that's your problem.
Yes, it is.
Go fight this war and win it, Charlie. Everything possible is on the line, including your manhood.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
right
I
there.
mean,
Yeah,
it's
she
not
doesn't
even,
give a fuck about the Israelis either.
No, well, and this isn't like, I don't even blame anybody, but this again, like, I don't blame Israel. I don't blame Jews for collectivizing and using their power. Everything is always an offer. You know what I mean? So like, no matter who it is, anybody, you know, Chinese do it, the Qataris do it. Anybody that, you know, look, if there's corruption, it requires that somebody be corruptible. Okay, nobody's showing up. No Jewish guy showing up with a handgun and putting it to some congressman's head and being like, "You're gonna fucking vote for us to get more missiles, or we're gonna fucking paint the wall with your brains." No, it's not like that. It's exploiting an existing weakness. You know what I mean? So, I used to think, you know, think of it differently. Like, because when you first, and I'll just be honest, like, you know, when you start, they call it like the Jewish question, you know, and like you're noticing or whatever, and you're like, man, there's all these problems in my country, and like, because of the way people present this information, they make a very compelling case. They go, look, you know, if you go up the food chain and these things that you don't like, pornography, you know, Netflix, the media, these financial institutions, the pharmaceutical companies, you know, who's making the drugs that do the sex change stuff, whatever it is, they'll go up into the hierarchy, and at the top of that hierarchy, they'll find a Jewish person, right? And then they'll be there, and you can be like, no, that can't be true, and then you go and you independently verify it and you whatever.
I'd like to address
actually,
that.
Yeah, and I'll shut up in a second. But that's not actually evidence of anything. And even if it is evidence of something, it's irrelevant when compared to. Let's just take pornography. Okay, let's say it's the case that Jews just happen to own all the pornography companies. Well, they don't make you watch it. You know what I mean? Like, it's your own moral failings that cause that to, you know, permeate your society and your culture, in my opinion. Now, I don't know what to do, you know, because the other thing is like, is it the case? Like, have you looked into it? Like, is it all Jews that run these companies? Yeah, they're all owned by them. Again, I don't know if that's indicative of anything other than it's a business that's profitable, and these people are very successful, you know, at business. We already talked about, like, Ashkenazi Jews, highest IQ. That's like science, you know, like, you can look it up. It's true. Okay. And, you know, so or have they just astutely identified a way to make money? All right, go.
Yeah, so a lot of times, you know, when people are making statements like that, they're absolutely true. And for example, okay, well, let's go the opposite direction. We're going up, let's go down. What is it? 13% of the population commits over 50% of the violent crimes.
Yeah.
I don't think that's biological. I think that's cultural, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at culture and what's, I think we never ask the why. What's doing this and how can we fix it, right? So let's go back up, right? And you find all these influential people, and a lot of them happen to be Jewish. Okay, well, let's do the same thing. Why? Why are they so influential? And I would say that you're going to find a small portion of the population that happens to be at the top. There are hard left-wing Jews. There are hard right-wing Jews. Friedrich Mises, I think Friedrich was his first name, is, you know, libertarian thinker, Austrian economist, one of my heroes. Really, like, breaks down, without even having to get into the morality of it, the faults of communism and socialism. But when we go up there, maybe we should be asking, okay, well, there's a lot of doctors, there's a lot of Jews, there's a lot of people making pharmaceuticals that and they happen to be Jewish. Yeah, well, there's a lot of doctors that are Jewish. Okay, well, there's a lot of lawyers that are arguing for this extreme leftist things. Yeah, well, a lot of lawyers are Jewish. Well, there's a lot of business owners that are doing these things that I don't agree with morally. Yeah, well, a lot of business owners are Jewish. Maybe we should be asking why so many Jews are in these higher positions. And I would argue, again, it's not biology, it's culture. There's a lot of good things that Jews are doing as well. But if you start with a conclusion and you work your way back and you go, see, the Jews, instead of going, wait a minute, there's a lot of successful Jews here. What's their secret to success? There's, you know, you're gonna come on the backside of the problem and never fix it.
I agree. I agree. And I agree. And I would add, like, my problem, and it's not a problem with Jews, it's a problem with like liberalism, which I don't, blame the Jews for. But like, so the Jews are like, they're effective at collectivizing. They have these lots of organizations that are, again, this is common in immigrant communities in America. Italians did it, Irish did it. They initially get a foothold in these tenements. Shit is terrible. So they collectivize their resources. They get aid from, anybody that's prosperous. They figure out ways to, help out people, members of their own community. Okay. That's normal. Right. The Jews have just been more successful at it, and they continue to do that. And so now they're saying, hey, look, and to be honest, like what they're saying is that, like, hey, look, we want to maintain what amounts to an ethno state in Israel. Now again, other ethnicities live there, but it's an ethno state. Like that's what it is, right? The problem with us, like if we, white Americans of European extraction tried to collectivize in any way or tried to do anything similar at this point, it's fucking no go. You know what I mean? And we allowed that to happen. Like over time, and this is weakness. This is like, you can't be mad. You can be as mad as you want at other people's success, but that's not the way the world works, man. Like you win or you don't, right? And again, like if some other group, call it whoever you want. Let's say it's the Chinese. Let's whoever it is, the Chinese. If they've found weaknesses in your system and they're exploiting them to your benefit, and you're allowing it to happen, you're allowed to happen. Now the problem is like we've convinced ourselves as like. Let's just take the main voting block of Americans still, right? White Christians or, whatever, just white people of European extraction. We're at the point now, if we try to say no to any of these transgressions, it's a problem. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We've become so liberal. And this is like off topic, but that's why, like, I'm not like like after a lifetime of being programmed otherwise and like kind of accepting it. It's again, that's nothing to do with the Jews. I'm just saying because we're talking about it. Like I am not for, like I don't think democracy works long term.
It doesn't.
I think,
no.
Yeah, and I don't think universal suffrage is a good idea. I don't think the outcomes long term, are good. I think that I don't think it works, and so and I don't think things like feminism are good for women ultimately, right? So and these are just. I think that what's happening is we're now in the like. We're suffering the consequences of like adopting these systems, and then one easy target or one common target is the Jews.
Yeah,
because a lot of the people that don't like that stuff also don't like Jews like inherently, innately. There's like a thing, and so those people are able to make this case. So like this is the problem that Jews have, right? Or whatever, like Zionism has, is like as people start to become aware that there's a problem, normally it takes a reduction in the material conditions for them to like poke their head up and be like, why am I paying more for gas? Why are we having another war? What after decades of paying no attention, all of a sudden they're like, well, there's a problem. So now they're aware that there's a problem. And as they kind of wander off the Democratic, voting plantation, the first thing they meet is like some guy that's like, look, it's those guys.
Right.
It's these Jewish dudes. Yeah. And they're like, fuck yeah, it is. And then, it's like a problem. Like basically they start to wander off and they meet Nick Fuentes,
Yeah. That's a great point there, because I initially saw Nick Fuentes, had no idea who he was. And basically what he does is a truth sandwich, right? He goes, hey, did you notice this? Yeah. Notice 13% of the population commits 15% of the crimes? Well, let me do an easier one, right? Hey, you notice those squirrels over there? Yeah, those squirrels like nuts. Do you notice that? They climb in the trees. The Jews rule the world. We all know this is a fact. And also the cats hate dogs. And so they go fact, boom. And then, so I saw him, he was talking about something else. And I was like, oh yeah, I like this. And then before you know, he's like, and then the Jews. And then he moves real quick on to the next thing. Now he's on large rants about it, but
it's a problem, man, because I've been paying attention to this stuff a lot. And like, so the thing with him is he's very good. Like he's very sharp, and he, agree with him or not, he's compelling, you know what I mean? And he's funny, he's quick, right? And then, you got guys like, if you're watching like I watch a lot of this debate, or like a lot of these people that go back and forth publicly about like these topics, especially right now with Israel and Gaza and Zionism and stuff. The Jews do not have anybody, dude. Like the people that they have, they've got like Ben Shapiro, they've got this guy Shabbos Kastenbaum, they've got Mark Levin, they've got a few people, and then they've got these really dopey Zionist or Christian evangelical types that just suck, and they just get their lunch ate by these by whoever's all these Groyper, like these young kids. They take Nick Fuentes' like talking points, and they're dude, it's just if you were objective and you were just watching a debate between these two things, like most of the time, dude, again, if Israel, if you're listening, you got to get Shmuley the fuck. You know who I'm talking about? This guy, dude. That guy must create. Go when you get a minute. Look up Rabbi Shmuley. Go on Twitter or something.
Rabbi Shmuley somehow knows every single powerful person in the world. Somehow.
That's so unsettling. Seeing the photos he takes with all these powerful people, and he helps sell butt plugs with his daughter. Something. It's just like it's disgusting. I don't understand it.
Bro, he must create 1,000 anti-Semites a night with what he does online. I swear to God, dude. Yeah. He's 100%.
Is he Israeli, or is he just like a American rabbi?
So he's American. He was Michael Jackson's personal handler rabbi. Something happens in it. Again, this is undeniable. Something happens in entertainment where a lot of these usually black artists will start to fuck up, and they will get assigned a rabbi, dude. It happened to Kanye. Happened to Kanye, happened to Michael Jackson, happened to Prince, a few others, dude. A bunch of they get a rabbi.
Well, what about the ones that go Muslim?
Yeah, I don't know I don't know. But anyways, Shmuley was Michael Jackson's rabbi. He's like a world-renowned rabbi. He's a Chabad guy. So he's like, his hero is what's his name? Schmearson. So he's always talking about it, but his kids are like in the IDF. He owns a sex toy dildo business with his daughter. That's why they call him the dildo rabbi. Like, what? He's the dildo rabbi. Dude, I swear to God, he owns an online business called Kosher Sex Toys or Kosher Sex. That his daughter, dude, he sells dildos with his daughter, dude. It's almost like they're trying, and I don't know why they would, but I kind of have some theories. I think that some of these people that have this end times, eschatological orientation towards everything, they might actually be trying to make it unsafe for the diaspora Jews to get as many as possible to move back to Israel, to hasten the construction of kill the fucking cows, build the third temple. Here comes the fucking Mashiach, right? Now I'm not saying, you believe that or many other Jews believe that, but I've heard many of these types say this, like this is what their end state is, right? So it's conspiratorial thinking, but it might be the case that Shmuley's out there and that's his project. Because when you watch him, you're like, dude, what's the holiday where it's like Halloween kind of, it starts with a P?
Purim.
Dude, bro, it's Purim, and he dresses himself up like, he already looks like a negative caricature of a Jew. Like he looks bad, right? He makes himself look like a fucking leprechaun bridge troll type thing. And he's making like selfie videos, and he's like freak dancing on like little kids at a party, like moving his ass in their lap. Dude, it's obscene. And you're like, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead. Knowing nothing more about the guy, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that he does not represent the Jewish people.
Of course not. That's my point. My point is something is up. That's my point. There's something strange. We talked about this a little last time, but like there's something unnatural because, dude, I've spent my whole life without encountering. I mean, there's always anti-Semitism and you hear about it or whatever, but like, and it's not just like what Israel's up to currently. That doesn't answer the mail because Israel's been up to shit before. You know what I mean? And like, it's dominating like the online like conversation right now. And I think it's unnatural. I think the Freemasons are up to some shit.
Somebody's up to something. I think the Jews are obviously an easy answer. They're just like start pointing the finger at them. And a couple of the groups that I think would want you to be distracted, would have interest in, people paying more attention to the Jews. So,
yeah, the Muzzies.
well, specifically like Qatar and Saudi Arabia. If you look at the three highest donors, not just to the government, but also to all universities, you put them all together, I think it's like $7 or $8 billion Qatar gives to the government and the universities. China is second, and then Saudi Arabia is third. So
what's Qatar's deal? Like Qatar,
that's a weird
after
one. Yeah.
a lifetime of hearing almost nothing about that place, all of a sudden they have all this money. They got the World Cup. They're like a player now. It's all just energy money, right? Like
I don't
know,
that
man.
one. I was always kind of confused about them. Maybe I need to dive deeper into their kind of geopolitics and why they are the way they are. But you jumped over something too. We got back to the Jews, but I just wanted to address the voting and all that stuff. And I think I think that we created a great system that we weren't prepared for the second and third order of effects for. Right. First of all, we all know we can do this whole thing where we go, how many times does democracy or show up in the Constitution? We all know none, zero. We're not a democracy. The founding fathers were specifically critical of democracy. Socrates was put to death because of democracy, because he criticized democracy. And they knew, like, one of the things that we kind of struggled with as a free society is, okay, well, we have to in place some sort of voting system. Who gets to vote? And so we all kind of just assumed that, like, oh yeah, back in the day we'd all vote for president. No, they thought maybe landowning men, and then this and then that. We eventually got to where we're at today, and then the suffragette movement. Actually, funny thing is most people don't even know that blacks got the right to vote before women got the right to vote. But we never stop and think when we live in this Disneyland of a country, what might this do? Because we have this freedom, should we be doing this? And to stop and think, what are the ramifications of doing this? And should the people that have that will bear no cost off of the vote be able to vote on this? It was the Republic in which they said, who should be voting on this? If we're building a new ship, should we vote? Should we have everybody vote on it, or just the people who are ship makers and sailors? So, hey, we're going to go to war with Iran tomorrow. Everybody vote on it. I mean, how many videos have we seen where people just go around to random voting age teenagers on the beach, and they can't tell you who the Civil War was with? Or,
oh, dude,
you know what I mean?
Nobody knows.
People are voting.
Nobody does anything.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing as we wrap this up, since Aaron's got a heart out, man, is if we do need a third, well, we could probably use some sort of political change if it's going to be real at all. But I recommend that we return to the original third party in America, which was the anti-Masonic party, the earliest third party in the United States. So we should,
Cody,
break that
out. How dare you? Because if we get rid of these Freemasons, then we're not getting any more cool fucking space missions.
Oh man, see that's
we didn't get to now. We didn't get to it, man. You got to. Hey, maybe we jump back on in a couple days or something, because we got to cover moon shit, Cody.
Definitely. Also,
making it too easy.
You know that I was a Freemason, right? You remember that?
I didn't know that. Well, okay. Obviously, like I
am not
at the lower level, at the guys down at the fucking lodge down the street level. It's not like we think that everyone's jerking off into coffins and like planning fake moon missions. We're talking about.
No, I know.
Again,
I get it. But even at my level, okay. Sorry, I wanted to pick an instrument to learn. I picked the weirdest instrument in the world, bagpipes.
No, dude. I love it when you.
Yeah, no, it was cool. Fun. But the band that was teaching me, they happened to be Masonic, and so in order to be part of the band, they had to like do the stuff. So they gave me like the quick, blah 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 blah. You're in.
You right? Snapped in, yeah.
But I would wander through this place, and some of the stuff I would see.
Oh, you had access to the inside. This was a Scottish Rite Freemason place.
Nobody else was there because we'd practice on the weekends. Nobody would be there, and I'd go take a piss and I'd wander around and like, what is this shit? So anyway, I know you got to leave, but yeah.
Hey, and I hope you didn't take any offense to anything I said. Like I like fire my mouth off or whatever, but I don't have any I'm just trying to be honest about like how I've like worked through this stuff, because I do think about it a lot. You know what I mean? Like, is that like I don't want to, dude. Man, like if I have like a personal principle, it's not to like collectivize people and judge them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
No,
in
yeah,
that
I
way,
get that.
and like you know, and it is like a lot of it too. It's like, again, like I feel this like movement, like something moving, something like pushing it on me. You know what I mean? So it's like that's why I'm thinking about it all the time, because it's like it's entering my consciousness no matter what I do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like I don't know. It's good to talk to you about it, and I hope you don't think that like I have any kind of
No, I hope, like, you know,
like,
I hear the little comments here and there, and half the time I hear them, I'm like, yeah, this thing does happen, but let me tell you, it's kind of like the people dancing with snakes kind of thing, because there's a lot of just like ignorance as far as it's not intentional. It's just you don't know, and you see a weird thing, and you go biting off, you know, baby dicks and stuff, and you're like, oh shit, they do that. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on.
Some of it sounds nuts,
everywhere.
and then you look into it, and you're like, fuck. But of course, like, yeah. I don't know. People are weird, dude. It's weird. Like, you know, the ancient world was fucking crazy, and there's just these like tendrils of the ancient world that have maintained to this point, which is interesting. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's the actual problem.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Is that Cthulhu-esque rot that I think has been there since probably Sumeria, man, and just change shapes, change names, change whatever it needed to change to get.
I mean, we could go dive into Catholicism and get just as fucking many more examples actually of weirdness. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you brought it up last time, Cody, but like,
yeah,
it's just, I just think because of the war shit, it's hot right now. Like the Jews are hot right now, you know?
Yeah, hot item, hot topic.
They're under the microscope.
Notice how usually with all this weird stuff and this ancient stuff, a lot of it has to do with youth, right? Sacrificing babies, young women, the Vestal virgins, and there's always like an element of youth involved. And now look at what we do with our youth today, what we're trying to convince them of, you know?
Yeah,
it's not good,
man, not good. All right, guys. Well, sorry to have to cut it, but I gotta get.
All right, fellas, great conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh yeah,
thanks everybody for
Josh.
listening. Yeah, shout out to everybody that listens to this, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. All right, fellas. I'm headed.
Bye.